Claire parked her weathered car outside the huge gates of the Davenport mansion. Her breath hazed the glass as she awkwardly turned off the engine, her hands trembling on the wheel. Before, she had thought this estate would stand for her everlasting life. There it was, staring back at her, a stark reminder of what she had lost. Claire looked through the rain-stained glass while breathing heavily. She had departed from this spot almost 2 years ago, lugging along a battered bag that had nothing but her clothes. Evan Davenport's treatment of her as a burden rather than a loved one was far more hurtful, even if the betrayal was still fresh. Evan, the charming and self-assured protagonist who won Claire's love, was born into affluence, but rose through the ranks to become a basic teacher. Their love tale gave her the illusion that she had found her happily ever after. But underneath his magnetic personality was a chilly selfishness, a man obsessed with control and how he seemed to others. When Evan abandoned Claire for a younger, more attractive socialite named Danielle, Claire was taken aback. Worst of all, her family members conspired to remove all legal possibilities for her to contest the divorce. They used every possible loophole to leave her without any support. Claire fought for survival for 2 long years. She squeaked by with a studio apartment and a number of part-time teaching jobs. After a long, hard day, the nights would often be haunted by the pain of being alone. Despite this, she was determined not to let herself be defeated by her circumstances. Slowly but surely, she began to rebuild her life, but on her own terms. All of a sudden, she was pulled back into the familiar world she had wished to flee by an enigmatic and unexpected letter. Claire almost paid no attention when the messenger arrived at her apartment 1 week before, cradling a parcel with the emblem of the Davenport family. Nonetheless, curiosity won out in the end. An invitation to the reading of Grant Davenport's will, Evan's father, was included in the mail. It had been a long time since they had seen one another. He was a distant, icy man who never really liked her, but who sometimes showed little gestures of kindness. Claire bundled herself against the cold rain as she stepped out of her car and bravely crossed the gravel road. The magnificent estate has maintained its imposing marble columns, meticulously manicured lawns, and air of old-world opulence. Even before she could ring the doorbell, an old man's severe features softly welcomed her. Recollections were about to consume her as soon as her nose touched the fresh, flowery scents and polished wood. She was led to the study where the family had assembled. Upon her entrance, all eyes were fixed on her. Ambience became dimmer. Evan stood by the window and put a gentle arm around Danielle. His expression shifted from mild boredom to utter amazement. "What on earth are you doing here?" he yelled, his voice betraying his terrible shock. Claire said, "I was invited," as she held out the letter for him to examine. Her speech remained calm, even though her heart was pounding. Suddenly, Danielle's condescending voice shattered the silence. "Kindly, keep this matter inside your family. Some mistake must have been made." Before Claire could respond, the family's lawyer, a man with gray hair and an air of professionalism, cleared his throat. His manner was rather assertive. "Something is wrong. As a beneficiary of Mr. Grant Davenport's gift, Miss Claire Davenport is present for a number of reasons." The room became a complete mess. His hot cheeks became redder as Evan stuttered his complaints. "That can't be done. She is no longer a part of the family, and nothing belongs to her." No terror emanated from the lawyer. "Behind closed doors, your father made these modifications without informing a single one of you. You have to adhere to them." The tension in the room rose as the attorney continued to recite the will. Claire hardly understood a word as they were spoken. What she had expected was animosity, maybe even scorn. To be honest, she hadn't expected it. A large legacy had been left to her by Grant Davenport, and he had not even mentioned Evan. A flash of lightning accompanied the epiphany. Claire was the proud owner of the expansive Davenport Vineyard, a winery that had been garnering accolades for generations. The property held the utmost importance to the family. The chamber erupted once again, this time with Evan at the front of the chaos. Something like, "This is absurd," came out of his mouth. "She can't even manage a property like that." The lawyer's tone remained steady. "Mr. Davenport, your father's wishes were quite explicit. Any attempt to resist this will have a very little chance of success." Claire maintained her composure and dignity throughout the tirade. Within her emotions, she experienced a whirlwind of shock, confusion, and, if she were really honest, a flash of triumph. She silently thanked Grant for the unexpected gift when the reading ended and her furious family left, even though she had no clue why he had chosen her. Finally, the next morning, after a protracted absence, Claire arrived at the vineyard. As she got closer to the home, she could see the endless slopes of grapevines, shrouded in a beautiful morning mist. Upon seeing it, she gasped for breath. She was married to Evan, but he and his family would sometimes treat her like a servant, sending her to the vineyard to perform menial tasks while they wasted their money. As she approached the main house, a middle-aged man stepped out to greet her. Attractive and weathered, he towered above everyone. "You must be Claire," he said, extending his hand to crush someone's. "This is Henry, in charge of the vineyard. Mr. Davenport spoke very highly of you." Claire's jaw dropped in disbelief. "He did?" Henry nodded to show his agreement. "He reassured me that your kindness for others set you apart from the others. He was grateful for it, even if he didn't say it often." Coughing up a secret, Claire followed Henry inside the house. Inside, he gave her a small stack of letters. "These came just before he passed," Henry said. So Henry said, "He wanted you to have them." Claire, seated in the peaceful study, unfolded the first letter with trembling hands. She read Grant's message. Her eyesight grew blurry. "Paul has met Claire. My time here is over, and I imagine you've been compelled to go back to the place you ran away from too. My deepest apologies. Your family exemplifies the qualities I sought for in my own: kindness, determination, and respect for hard work, which is why I gave you the vineyard. You are aware of the fact that Evan failed you? I really regret that. But I trust that you will continue the vineyard's traditions in a way that he could not. You are aware of the fact that Evan failed you. I really regret that. I have trust in you to carry on the vineyard's legacy, which he failed to achieve." She sobbed uncontrollably. Grant was able to see her worth even when she doubted it. His validation of her was matched by the inheritance he left her. A difficult several months followed. In her pursuit of knowledge about vineyard management, Claire immersed herself in the work of Henry and the other employees. Their skepticism of her skills started to fade when she put in long hours in the fields alongside them and listened to their advice. The vines slowly flourished as she painstakingly attended to them. But Evan had other intentions for her. Some weeks later, Claire learned that he was contesting the will. A contentious court battle sprang out when Evan's influential lawyers accused her of being dishonest and incompetent. According to Grant, Claire's lawyer Walter was an introverted, meticulous type. Walter used the letters to establish, beyond a shadow of a doubt, Grant's intentions. Claire was finally vindicated by the court. The failure of his argument made Evan feel humiliated. His socialite wife just absconded with his few possessions once he gained widespread public disfavor. Symbolic of shared history and success, the vineyard has stood the test of time. The estate flourished into a prosperous business that brought joy to many people because of Claire's innovative ideas. She thought about Grant's words about her quiet strength all the time. She felt a sense of peace she hadn't had in a while as she gazed out over the rows of blooming grapes from the balcony of the vineyard on a bright evening. The inheritance that Grant had bestowed upon her was now crystal clear. It showed how important it is to be kind, persistent, and enjoy life to the utmost. Thanks for listening in. Please subscribe to our channel, like this story, and share it with others if you like it. What emotions does this story arouse? Get your point across by posting a comment.